All right, everybody, welcome to Virtual Bourbon. My name is Steve Akley. We have a special evening today because it's the first one. This is gonna be a series, Bartender Hacks with Courtney Cantrell. Courtney works at Old Hickory Whiskey Bar in Pensacola. She's a good friend, been on the network now for a while for the Bourbon Betty's show. And she comes on the Bourbon Daily now as a regular as well, because she is one of the judges for our cocktail contest that we're doing for the next year. So that's been pretty exciting, getting to know her a little bit better. So, hey, Courtney, how you doing?
I'm great. How's everybody?
Good.
Yeah.
Folks, it's very informal, so feel free. You can either take off your microphone when you want to ask a question, or you can hit the chat function, and I will get to that. Not necessarily always immediately. Sometimes if somebody's talking, I don't just jump in. I'll wait until the time is right. So know that if you do send it in, I will definitely get to every one of those questions. But like I said, it's pretty informal, not too big of a group. You have the opportunity to jump in at any time. Courtney, I want to talk about all the bar stuff today and all the cool things that you've got, recipes and all that kind of neat stuff. But before I get to that, because it's the first one in this new series that we're going to do, I don't know that we need to do this every time moving forward, but I think at least starting out here, and you have done some events and many people here may know you, but if you don't mind, just give us a little background on yourself.
Sure. So I'm from Louisiana. I went to high school in Ponchatoula. I moved to Pensacola almost 3 years ago, where I started working at Old Hickory Whiskey Bar. Bartending is not my only passion. I'm also studying to become a doctor as well, a physician. So luckily, I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons and study for my MCATs, get into medical school with all of the free time that I have now, thanks to COVID. So it's pretty much what I've got going on right now.
So tell us a little bit about Old Hickory Whiskey Bar too, because that's a cool place and one of the top bourbon bars in the country. So for those who aren't familiar with it, again, we've done some events around that. I know you've even participated in at least one of those. So, but it's still a good idea to revisit that because not everybody was on those meetings.
Yeah, I can probably get like a little bit of a better vantage point here. So this is our whiskey wall. Back there, all the way down to where you see those lights. It's just covered in whiskey from all over the world. And we have a little over 700, close to 8 probably right now, 800 whiskeys. So
wow.
It's opened in 2013 and we're not letting COVID stop us.
So right now with Florida closing down, or are you guys doing, just like the cocktails to go thing? Are you going back and doing, I know before you were doing bottle sales, give us an update on that.
Yeah, we definitely have bottles for sale. If you go onto our website, oldhickorywhiskeybar.com, we have quite a few really difficult to come by bottles right now, just because our director of operations is really big into hoarding whiskey a little bit. So he'll buy like cases on cases of like special stuff when it's released. And we don't necessarily sell that so much by the pour in the bar. So we've got quite a bit of backstock from, the past few years. So that's the kind of stuff you're going to be seeing online. If there's anything in particular, though, that you're looking for, something a little more everyday or, just obscure, you can always give us a call as well if you don't see it online. Because we are also, we can try and order something for you and we might just not have it on the website.
Okay. And if you don't mind, one kind of last question about the bar and things like that. When I think of a whiskey bar, a lot of times I'll think of whiskey neat, whiskey on the rocks, whiskey with a splash of water. Is there a good cocktail culture within Old Hickory Whiskey Bar? There
is. I think with every whiskey bar that's opens, this is the second one that I've worked for. I started at Barrel Proof in New Orleans. You open a bar and you want to just solely sell whiskey, but honestly, the cocktail culture just continues to grow. And especially within Pensacola, it's blowing up more and more just for food and drinks here. So you kind of have to adapt to what the people want. So we've definitely developed our cocktail menu quite a bit. And it's, keeping the college kids in, the military, so I really enjoy our cocktails. It's one of my favorite times of the year. We release a menu seasonally, so we all get to play around a little bit. And that's, the fun part of bartending, I think.
Yeah. Courtney, on a personal note, how do you, hone your craft? Is it something that there's professional development through work? Does Katie send you to different things? Or is it things that you do on your own to research and develop new skills and things like that? Or how do you get to be a better bartender once you have that role?
It's so hard to say. I mean, I've definitely picked up on a lot of stuff, especially like different ingredients that I'll be teaching you throughout the coming months. I feel like I am very self-taught because, you know, for instance, I'm going to instruct y'all on how to make a fat washed spirit. I heard of that and I was interested in it. And then I taught myself how to make it and then also incorporate it into a cocktail. So you can read books, you can look online at recipes, but you'll never really get the feel for it until you just start making stuff yourself and in your house and like how things are going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both, like just kind of playing around, tinkering, like the Flavor Bible. If you don't own that book and you're really into cocktails and cooking, baking, I would definitely strongly suggest getting that book just so that you can acquaint yourself a little bit more with how flavors pair up with one another. But at the same time, I don't think that you should necessarily constrain yourself to what you see in the book, because I love to play around and have fun and put weird pairings together.
Cool. Well, Courtney, you and I, we both said the same thing. We didn't want to be overly rehearsed. We want to have a fun and just flowing meeting. So I have the basics down, what you were going to cover tonight, but I don't know anything, what you specialize in here. So the list that I had, and you can correct me if something has evolved and changed, but the list that I initially had was a fat wash liquor, a shrub, a cordial, and bitters. Is that still the game plan, or is that evolved at all? Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
I've prepared recipes for all of those, and then a cocktail that you can incorporate those ingredients into.
Excellent. Well, that sounds fun. I'm going to let you kick it off. Which of those four do you want to focus in on first?
Okay, I say we start with the fat wash spirit because honestly, this is probably one of my favorite cocktails I've ever made. So
okay,
and it's really,
that sounds good to me. All right, what do you got?
So fat washing may sound a little weird to most people and not so appealing, but it's just as simple as taking a fatty substance like peanut butter, coconut oil, you can even use bacon, and mixing it with the spirit in a way that the actual like fatty chains break off and stay with the spirit, and then you're left with like a solid. So I'm doing a peanut butter fat washed Old Granddad.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the fall of 2018 when I first like fat wash spirits got on my radar. And I love peanut butter. Like whenever we have a cocktail menu, one of my favorite things to do is just like go through my cupboard and see like what I can use that's in there to possibly incorporate with the drink. So saw peanut butter and I was like, here we go, let's do this.
This sounds good. Yeah, peanut butter goes well with bourbon anyway. So we keep doing these shows like what pairs well with bourbon, like cookies. And it's always like peanut butter cookies, or we've done ice cream, peanut butter. So it's always in play. So this, you got a good start here. So let's hear how you do this.
Yeah. So all you do is it's probably one of the shorter processes that I'm going to talk about today. You just take whichever, like in this instance, peanut butter, and you're going to simmer it a little bit on the stove and kind of melt it down quite a bit so that it comes more like of a thinner substance, break up those fatty chains a little bit.
Question. I'm not going to interrupt. This would be so annoying if I interrupt everybody. But they will get these recipes afterwards, so people don't have to, take down notes and all. Right, Courtney? I just want to make sure that's fine. Okay. Yeah. So I just, so you don't have to worry about that. You can just kind of live in the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to send all the recipes to you guys, and then some like side notes as well, just a little bit of background information. So
okay.
If you have any questions,
my apologies. I just wanted everybody to know. I should have said that up front probably, but I didn't. So I wanted to throw that in earlier.
So I'm going to try and walk y'all through everything as much as possible, but this I kind of have to like prepare a little bit before. So what you do is you just kind of melt down the peanut butter a bit, add it to a mason jar, and then add whichever spirits. In this instance, it's Old Granddad bonded. I did 1/4 cup per 8 ounces of the Old Granddad. You're going to let that chill at room temperature until it's, not so hot anymore. And then you throw it in the fridge overnight. You let it sit for about 24 hours. And then at that point, that's when everything you're going to see a separation between the now fat wash spirit. And then there's going to be a solid that remains for the peanut butter at the bottom. But if you did do something like coconut oil, that would rise to the top. And so you just want to separate that solid from the liquid. Then you'll have your fat wash substance. So what I'm gonna do for the peanut butter fat washed Old Grandad is I'm just gonna take a coffee filter, if I can separate them, and then I have this little funnel here. So you just put the coffee filter in there, and then take like a fresh mason jar or whatever, you know, vesicle you want it to go in vessel, and you just kind of pour it in there, and it'll do its own thing. It might take a while, but yeah, so you just slowly but surely let it drip through in there, separate, and then up here it's gonna be all the solids left over, and you just kind of discard that. Or you can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the.
I think you've created two good items when you do that, because that
Exactly.
Old Grandad peanut butter doesn't sound bad to me either, Courtney.
Oh, it's delicious. Trust me, I've definitely had a few spoonfuls there, here and there when I'm making this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that sounds really good.
I'm just gonna let this go to the side. So moving on to the cocktail, the PB&J of Coors is what I dubbed it. So you're gonna take, initially it came in a small snifter, which looks like this, but feel free to use whichever glass works best for you. So you've got whichever jelly or jam. This is just a classic Concord grape jelly. And then do like a spoonful of that. Toss that in there. And then you've got 1/4 ounce of cold brew. That goes in there. And then 1/4 ounce of 1-to-1 simple syrup, which if you don't know is really simple to make. Just take just basic. Like let's do a cup of water and a cup of simple syrup, throw that together in a saucepan on the stove. Heat that. I do over medium heat to not burn it until the sugar dissolves. And then you have a simple syrup. It's very simple. As the name indicates. And then I'm gonna do 1.5 ounces of the fat washed Old Grandad. And then I'm just gonna do 1 cube. The point here isn't really to dilute the cocktail like you usually want whenever you're shaking. You kind of just wanna use that cube to help break everything up and incorporate it a little bit. So just give it a little shake. I like to strain it just in case with a little fine mesh strainer, but you don't have to. You can really just dump it in there. And then put some ice. And then this is where the of Coors part comes in. Coors Banquet.
Okay.
Just top it off. Yeah. Give it a little stir. And I like to express a lemon peel over it. I just think it kind of adds a little depth and fun citrus note to it, and that's all. It's that easy.
Wow. Cheers.
I'm going to go ahead and start drinking this.
All right, take it. And what taste do you get when you taste that, Courtney? Is it peanut butter, and do you pick up the jelly too?
Yes, it literally tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you've got the jelly in there, the peanut butter. The Coors Banquet gives you that weedy as like bread notes to it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to make, y'all. Like everybody thinks that bartending is difficult, or I don't know how you do what you do. It's as simple as like flavor pairings and just maybe like tweaking things a little bit here and there. But this is seriously so simple, and it's one of my favorite cocktails I've ever made because it drinks so quickly, and you get a nice happy like whiskey and beer all at the same time. So yeah,
that sounds fantastic. I love that idea.
Yeah,
I like everything about that one. There's no like
just to direct y'all back to this is kind of the whiskey that's separating from the peanut butter here, so it's a lot more clarified, not quite as peanut buttery in appearance as you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a fat wash spirit for you.
Okay.
Definitely feel free to play around if this is something that interests you. You know, I mentioned coconut oil, rum, those go really well together. Fat wash spirits actually began in, I think it was 2007 at a bar in New York called Please Don't Tell. The bar program director there did the first like bacon fat washed old fashioned. So that's where it began. So yeah, I mean, get crazy.
Yeah.
Duck fat, bacon fat, coconut oil, avocado oil. There are so many ways that you can go with it.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds great.
Yes. So shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And unless anyone has any questions about that one.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask. And we'll also have time at the end where you can ask anything. It can be about these or anything else, bartending, bourbon industry, whatever you like.
So Courtney, after you do the fat wash spirit, do you need to store it in the fridge, or can you store it on the shelf like everything else? And then how long does it last?
I would definitely store it in the fridge. I would say a month tops.
Okay.
Is what I would do for this. It probably could go a little bit longer, but just to be safe, I would go with a month.
Do you use like a natural peanut butter or like the regular store brands or what?
Yeah, just a regular store brand. Jif is what I use for this. So
Jif, okay.
Yeah, sure, classic, good old peanut butter.
I've heard about using a freezer instead of the refrigerator to do the separation.
Oh yeah, definitely put it in the freezer. I'm sorry,
Freezer.
I thought you said
Okay.
freezer.
I thought you said fridge. Okay.
You did say
overnight.
fridge, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Freezer.
Yeah, freeze
Okay.
it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Courtney, how long do simple syrups make? Because I love making my own simple syrups. I did a mint one today, which was phenomenal, and I should have made it months ago. But how long do they last in the fridge?
I mean, honestly, if everything that you're using to make your simple is sterile, it should last.
As long as you need it to.
Yeah, for quite a bit of time.
Right, because I've heard people say it lasts about 2 weeks, and I'm like, if I make a big thing of, blueberry syrup and I use it once a month, I've kept it longer, but so
Yeah, I
they
mean,
last.
this may be a little gross, but you can definitely tell, especially with syrups, when they're going bad. You start to see some weird things showing up in there. But
Well, I haven't seen that yet, so I feel good.
yeah, no, but I mean, theoretically, if everything is sterile and clean, whenever you're making them, it should be good for quite a bit of time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Any other questions about that one? All right, Courtney, what do you want to try next? What's next on our list?
Okay, so next we've got the shrub.
Okay.
I thought, it's summertime, it's really hot out there, so I'm gonna teach you guys how to make a cucumber mint shrub.
Sounds refreshing.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're gonna start with, pardon me. Okay, so I've got a cucumber and I've got this fruit peeler. And you're just gonna take 2 cucumbers and peel away and throw it in a mason jar. So I'm not gonna do this whole thing now, but so yeah, you pretty much just peel 2 cucumbers or however many you want, like how large you want your batch to be. You could also cut this in half. You're gonna fill the jar up, and then for every 1 cucumber, I did 3 mint sprigs as well. Sorry. Oh, I'm so far away. I have a friend on hand. He's helping me out in these troubling times. So for every 1 cucumber, 3 mint sprigs. And it's coming right now. So, I think the best way to go about this is to take the leaves off and throw them in there, because the stalk, this guy, is going to add some bitterness and earthy notes that you don't necessarily want for this shrub in particular.
Okay.
So just do 3 sprigs, break those mint leaves off, toss them in your jar. And then you're also going to have your cucumber in here, obviously. But for the 2 cucumbers, 3 mint sprigs, you're going to do 1 cup of sugar, and you're just going to dump it on top. Mix it up, give it a little shake, cover it, seal it, and then just let it sit for at least 24 hours. I typically do 2, and what's going to happen is the sugar is going to draw out all of those oils and juices from whichever fruit or herb you're using, and then you're going to be left with a liquid. So after the at least 24 hours, you're gonna strain the liquid through, again, like you could use cheesecloth. I love these little fine mesh strainers through there just to catch the solids. And you're gonna take your liquid, and however much you get from that, let's say you get half a cup, you're gonna match that with a vinegar. So for this one in particular, I used apple cider vinegar. I don't know where anyway. So I just did equal parts, 1-to-1 apple cider vinegar and the cucumber mint. I guess it's a syrup at this point. Just mix that, give it a little shake. You can let it sit for an extra day just so it all incorporates quite a bit, and that's it. That's a shrub.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
fairly simple. Something I definitely didn't
know. And it just really elevates the cocktail in a way that you don't, you wouldn't assume.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Especially if you like vinegar. But shall we move on to the cocktail?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
okay.
What cocktail you got lined out?
Okay. So for this one, I call it the liquid encouragement. There's mint in it. And then
yeah. All right. That's good.
So I have half an ounce of agave syrup, which is just go get some agave and you do 1-to-1 to dilute with hot water of agave. And it just makes it, if you're making cocktails, a lot more easy to use and work with, especially if you've got like jiggers, which I strongly suggest if you're trying to home bartend, use a jigger because it just helps with consistency and getting your cocktail accurate every single time. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, dilute your agave a little bit. So you've got a 1-to-1. So you've got a half ounce of that. And then I have half an ounce of pineapple juice, half an ounce of lime juice. I've got half an ounce of the shrub that we made and 1.5 ounces of tequila.
Okay.
Dump it all in there together. And then put it in a shaker, fill with ice, and give it a nice shake. You're gonna strain it into a highball Collins glass.
Okay.
Top that off with ice, fill the glass up, and then fill your glass with ginger beer to the top. This is Q ginger beer. Honestly, probably one of my favorite ginger beers I've ever had. It's not quite as sweet. It's got a bit more spice to it, and it's a lot more effervescent than your classic Gosling's ginger beer.
Yeah.
So I definitely encourage you to branch out and try some different ginger beers around there. You don't have to use this one, but I just think it's a really nice one to use.
Be on the lookout for that Q ginger beer.
Yeah. Then put a little straw, just like a cucumber garnish, and then we're gonna throw a mint sprig in there as well. I just like to give it a little tap on the back of my hand to kind of open it up, release those flavors. And that's it.
Wow, that does look like summertime, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Who has questions about that one? As they're thinking, there was a question about the previous one was sent in on chat, so I want to ask you this, Courtney. You mentioned you can do a wash with bacon. How would you do that? Is it just taking the fat after you cook it, or?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
yeah.
I didn't want to answer myself because I didn't know.
That would be great with Old Granddad 114.
Okay.
That's what I would go with. But yeah.
Same type of thing. So you just take the fat, put it in with the Old Granddad, and put it in the freezer, and then next day strain it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a very pretty process, but tasty for sure.
Tasty. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make it for a good old fashioned. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about this one, or whether it's about the shrub itself or the cocktail that she made with it?
Cool. Shrubs, I think shrubs became one of my early passions when I started bartending, just because I never realized how much I enjoyed vinegar until I had a shrub. And then, you know, seriously, one of my favorite parts of bartending is just how much you can play around with stuff and trade things in and out. So like I did cucumber and mint. You could do so many, any type of berry, any seasonal fruit, take that and mix it with herbs, spices, different types of vinegar. You can seriously get crazy and just make so many different variations. And another beauty of it is that it helps preserve your fruit a little bit longer, and it's non-alcoholic as well. So if you wanted to, you know, you had someone coming over, if you were hosting some sort of party and they weren't drinking, you could just add a shrub to soda water and they felt like, and just like put a pretty garnish on it, and they felt like they were being treated special, you know?
Yeah, the whole mocktails are pretty popular
Yeah,
these days.
it's a
so it fits
really
them all.
easy mocktail and it could be used in so many different ways. So
Okay.
definitely play around with it and have some fun.
All right, that sounds good.
When you're saying when you said the sugar and then the herb and the fruit, did you like how much you said the liquid comes out of it? How much liquid does it usually produce, or is it more vinegar than what is actually coming out of the herb?
So it depends on which fruit you use, because some will yield, like some are juicier, like strawberries. Let's say you have a juicier strawberry than another one, you know how it is. But it's like, if it's a juicier, more ripe strawberry, you're going to get more of that liquid out of it. So just for consistency's sake, however much liquid you get when you add the sugar to the fruit, it could be one day, it could be half a cup, another day it could be 3/4 of a cup, you know, just match that with the same amount of vinegar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good to know.
Cool.
Any other questions about that? All right, this next one, I have no idea. A cordial, Courtney? To me, I don't actually know what that is. Again, people might be surprised. They think I know everything about alcohol. I don't really know that much. I know about bourbon. That's really about it. So a cordial, I think of those little bitty glasses that someone would drink after, I see in the movies, like after dinner.
Yeah.
Like, I think they call it. So you're going to show us how to make one of these? I don't understand. So I'm willing to, I can't wait to learn on this one.
Okay, so a cordial is basically just a fruit infused spirit.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. So to make one, you could take whichever, again, similar to a shrub, whichever, you know, pairing of fruit, herbs, spices, whatever, you could take that and add it to whichever spirit you choose, and then add sugar to it. So it's a little bit a reverse process as to the shrub. So for instance, today, I'm going to talk about a rosemary, grapefruit, black pepper cordial.
Okay.
Okay, so again, mason jars. If you don't have these, go buy some. They're so handy for everything. I love them.
Okay.
So you've got.
That's a pro tip right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I have these grapefruit peels already peeled, but you're going to, again, take your little peeler here, go crazy on some grapefruit. Crazy. Fill it up, fill your mason jar up about 3/4 of the way. Usually for one this size. Also, I'm doing it in large mason jars, but this is going to yield a lot of product. So I don't know how crazy you're trying to get with these cocktails, but I mean, again, it does last a while. If you're having a party, I would say this is a good size to use. If not, if you're just using it for your own home personal use, I would go a little bit smaller. But so we got this full here.
Okay.
And then you've got your rosemary. So similar to what I talked about with the mint, you definitely want to pull the rosemary off of the sprig and put that in the jar without the sprig, because this especially is very bitter.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously grapefruit has a bit of bitterness to it, but it's a different type of unpleasant bitter. So I do 4 sprigs of rosemary for this. That was 3. Okay. So just Just give you all a little idea. Well, it's not mixing up, but yeah, it's gonna look like something like that.
Okay.
And then you take your, I like to use fresh black peppercorns. This has a grinder on it, or you could just buy some and kind of grind it up a little bit rather than the kind that's already ground, you know, black pepper, because it's just not going to give you the same flavor and spice.
Yeah. So don't grab the pepper shaker off the table.
Yeah. I mean,
it filled 4 years ago. So
yeah. And depending on how you feel about pepper, and I love it, I go crazy with the pepper, just crank away. Just don't stop until it feels right to you. So you got however much pepper you want in here, and then fill this jar up with vodka.
Okay.
And you're gonna let it sit for a minimum of 3 days. Obviously seal it.
Sealed. And does it need to be in the refrigerator or just on the countertop?
No.
Okay.
I would not put this in the fridge. I feel like there's something about it when it's sitting out at room temp that kind of draws everything a little bit out more. So just leave it at room temp,
Okay.
sealed 3-4 days, and then you're gonna strain it out over cheesecloth to separate the liquid from the solid. Take that liquid, and then once again, you're gonna do, actually, you're gonna add a simple syrup that you've already made. For this one in particular, I like to do a 3-to-2 ratio. So the infused vodka is gonna be a little more present than the sugar.
Okay.
So, yeah. So if you do 3/4 of a cup of vodka, then you're gonna do half a cup of simple syrup added to that. So it just depends on what you, how much you're trying to yield. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
And then for the cocktail, shall we? Okay.
We shall, yes.
I'll have a sip really fast.
Same thing, Courtney. How long will that last? That what you've just made there with your cordial?
I would say a month for this as well.
Month. Yeah, I wouldn't think a long time on that one, but
yeah. A lot of this lasts for a while, especially when I talk about the bitters. You know, that's basically going to last as long as you can use them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Courtney, where do you store it? Do you store it in the fridge or do you store it on the counter?
Yeah, sorry. So once it's finished, I would store it in the fridge.
In the fridge.
But when it's soaking in the vodka, don't put it in the fridge. And then once it's all combined, because it has the simple syrup in there, you can put that in the fridge just to be safe. The vodka is going to help it be a little more shelf stable.
Mm-hmm.
So it will last longer. It'll probably last longer than a month, but just to be safe.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to keep it in the fridge. So the cocktail, what did I call? Oh, this is called Summertime Gladness.
Summertime Gladness. All right.
Old fashioned take. Yeah. So I've got 2 ounces of rye. I love Rittenhouse rye. That's my go-to always for cocktails. Then I have a 1/4 ounce of the cordial that we made.
Okay.
A 1/4 ounce of Aperol. And a 1/4 ounce of 2-to-1 Demerara syrup, which is, Demerara is a particular type of sugar. It's a rich sugar, and a 2-to-1 is 2 parts sugar, 1 part water. It's just going to add a certain type of like nutty spice, like spiciness to your cocktail. I love 2-to-1 Demerara. It elevates things in a way that you can't imagine. So I would strongly suggest that you make that.
All right.
So 1/4 ounce of that. Add some ice. And just give it a little stir. And then for garnish, I just did a little sprig of rosemary and a lemon peel. So just express, which means just squeeze it over the glass. You can see those lovely oils coming out. The rind side out, just, you know, rub it around the rim there and then just plop it in your glass like that. And there you go.
There you go. All right. Talk to us a little bit about, for a second, on the flavor on that one. What do you get as you taste that?
So it's definitely got the spice notes to it because of the Demerara, the rye sugar, and the black pepper. But because of the grapefruit rosemary cordial, it's a very, summery, approachable old fashioned.
Okay.
So it's boozy for sure. But it's delicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I like old fashions. I like twists on old fashions. So yeah, that sounds good as well.
This one's for you then.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Any questions about that particular drink?
Both for this one and the last one. When you're using spices, are you using like super fresh spices or just stuff you could go pick up at the grocery store? Or?
For the cordial and the shrub?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely use as fresh as possible.
Okay.
I wouldn't use like underripe or overripe just because the flavors get a little off there. I mean,
that makes sense. I just was curious because I mean, I've got stuff that's been sitting in the spice rack forever that I'd love to use, but I wasn't sure if I should go out and get a fresher version or.
What is it?
I wanted to use some tarragon, and I have some. I don't have any fresh oregano.
Hmm.
So I've got some dried flaked oregano. That.
Oh, okay. So it's dried.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love fresh oregano or fresh tarragon specifically. Like, I would strongly suggest just grabbing some fresh tarragon. But at the same time, this is your drink, so don't let me tell you what to do. Like, do one with both, even if you just want to compare the two and see how it works out for you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What else?
Any other questions?
Any other questions on that one? Okay. All right. Now where I get this. Bitters. I do know about bitters. So obviously I'm interested to see. There's a lot of different takes though. So, and again, we haven't talked in advance, so I don't know what type of bitters that you've created here. So it should be fun. So Courtney, tell us what you did.
Okay. So I have had a book called Bitters for the longest time. And I just cracked it open specifically for this event not too long ago, just to get like a little more info myself. Like, obviously I know bitters very well. I work with them all the time, but like, how do you make your own? So what you need is bittering agents, is how they refer to it in the book, which is different types of roots and bark that have those natural bitter notes to it. And then you're going to use different herbs and fruits to kind of herbs, fruits, seeds, botanicals, anything under the sun that you can think of to play with those bittering agents. So I kind of drew inspiration from the book for pear bitters. Interestingly enough, the bittering agents aren't really easy to come by at your local store. I had to go to quite a few to kind of find something in the list. And I can actually send the bittering agents, different types of bitters that you can add for your bitters or use. Like, I can send a list of those if that would help everybody out a little bit, because there are quite a few options. There's one off the top of my head, I can't remember, that you see in almost every type of bitters, but I couldn't find it in store, and I did not, or you can buy it online, but I didn't. I was just looking in stores. And so I was able to find a few. I found licorice root, dandelion root, and burdock root. And so I used all three of those in this. The burdock root is pretty cool because it helps with cleaning your blood out.
Okay.
Of toxins. So let's use that.
Sounds like that sounds like the day after drink to get things going. Yeah.
Dandelion root is good for cleaning out your liver.
Okay. Again, day after, perfect.
Yeah. So licorice root, I think, was good for inflammation.
Okay.
So I thought those were good things to put in my bitters. Interestingly enough, back in the day when bitters were like becoming really popular, people would use them as an excuse to have their morning drink, or like add them to their liquors, say it was medicinal because there was bitters in it. And so it was fine if they were drinking.
Flies then. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. So I was like, good for them.
It's medicine in the glass.
Yeah. So for this, like I said, I had the licorice root, the burdock root, and the dandelion root, which I was able to find in stores. And for me, that was like important to use because I don't want to tell you guys, go out of your way to find something just to make bitters. So these things I was able to find in stores. Like if you have like a local health store or vitamin shop, like you can find these there, or like an apothecary, wherever you are. These are more readily available than other bittering agents. So I've got those 3, 2 pears that I chopped up, zest of 1 lemon. So you just peel the lemon and then you cut it into little strips like this.
Okay.
And then you're going to take a 3-inch piece of fresh ginger, peel the outside of that, chop it up as well. I use 5 cloves, which I love. If you haven't seen, they look like this. 5 cloves.
Yep.
And then I did 4 allspice berries, these little guys.
Okay.
And 1 cinnamon stick, which you can find pretty much anywhere. And then what else is there? I think and black pepper. Again, I did 1/4 teaspoon of that. So it's 1/4 teaspoon of all the roots and the black pepper, 2 pears, 1 lemon, 3 inches of ginger. If you have a food processor, I would just throw everything in there and give it a quick like zzz, so that it gets a little chopped up. And then you're gonna put all of that in a mason jar. So whenever, same size, whenever I did it, it filled up almost entirely. But then you wanna take Everclear, which is what I use for this specific recipe. You don't have to use Everclear, whichever bitters you're working on, whatever, flavor profile you're going for, figure out which spirit you want, but just make sure that it's a high proof. So anything over, I would go over 100 proof, because the higher the proof it is, the more that it's going to work with the ingredients and pulling out those flavors.
Okay.
Everclear is what I went with instead of vodka.
Use that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Use Everclear, folks. It's made in St. Louis.
Yeah. It's delicious. And then, so you're going to combine all of that in the jar, cover it, leave it out, not in the fridge, just on your, on your counter, out of direct sunlight for 3 weeks. So this is a process, but it's worth it. Leave it out for 3 weeks. And then you're going to strain the liquid from the solid.
Okay.
Take the solid, add water to it, and then let that sit for another week. And then you're going to strain it out again. So then the liquid that you strain out from that, you're going to add to the original batch.
Okay.
Let that sit for a couple of days, and then you have bitters.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. It's definitely the longest process, and it has the most ingredients to it, but I was like pleasantly surprised. I don't know. It's a lot easier than it sounds, but the result that comes out of it is really cool. And you're like, I did that.
Yeah. So then when you bottle it up, what do you do with that?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a good question. Because I always I like the bottles that have the little dash in it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I actually wrote that in my mental notes earlier. It was I just use old bitters bottles.
Okay.
So this one is with the bitter truth. I just saved it, cleaned it out, and just filled it up here.
Okay.
So I mean, it's the best method. It's not, outside of that, I'm not really. You can buy bitters bottles, or thank you. You can use these, which bitters come in as well. But these are
like an eyedropper.
Yeah, like dropper bottles.
Yeah.
So nice, pretty little drops coming out of there. These tend to be a little bit more consistent, I think, in terms of like the size of dash, because the more like full this is, or like however low it is, the difference you'll get in the size of the dash. Like these aren't quite as consistent as those are. So
okay. And that does make sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
well, that's sounds very interesting. And what sort of cocktail are you going to make with the bitters you created?
So this is a Manhattan take.
Okay.
I just thought pear, Toki, Japanese whiskey. They go perfect together in my mind. So I'm going to do 5 dashes of this because I love it. Feel free to change that if you want. So 5 dashes of the bitters. And then we've got 1 ounce of Coca Americano.
Okay.
Which looks like this. It's a fortified wine. But this in particular has King Quinoa, if I'm saying that right, in it, which is a little bit more of a bittering agent. So it's going to have more bitter notes on the back end as well, which I'm a fan of. But if you don't necessarily want that, like you can totally use dry vermouth as well.
Okay.
So 1 ounce of that, just standard Manhattan specs, and then 2 ounces of Toki. So I've got my mixing glass here, but you can use a pint glass, literally anything that you have.
Okay.
Throw some ice in there. Just stir it up. I like to stir until it looks like this.
Okay.
Like there's just a little bit of ice going on the top there. I don't want to, I just put like, this is, okay, let me back up. This is the question I get the most is like, oh, how do you know how long to stir for? So if your wash line initially in your glass like comes up to here is like low, then I add like 3 times as that much ice, stir it until there's like, it looks like that.
Okay.
If that helps, I don't know. It's more of a feel, like you'll get the hang of it eventually. And then strain that into your pretty little coupe. And I like this with a lime peel.
Okay.
So just, again, we're going to express that over here. Go around there. Then I like twist it up and rest it on the edge. And that's it.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
And what do you get on that flavor wise with those bitters? Wow. What do you pick up flavor wise from that?
So the first thing that hits you is going to be the lime peel express that you got going on there, because you're picking that up on the nose and on the palate. That's like the first thing. And then you're going to get a little bit of that, you know, like classic Japanese whiskey smoky palateness. And then on the back end is when you pick up those like juicy fruit notes and a little bit of ginger spice. It's good. It's a really great summer Manhattan for sure. Super light, dangerous. I could drink this in three sips. I might, I don't know. But, yeah.
Yes. Dangerous indeed then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful. Proceed with caution on that one. Questions about that particular drink, or making bitters, or ideas for bitters?
So when you said you added water to it and then let it sit and then you put it back in something, so you add, how much water do you add to it and what are you putting it back into? I didn't quite get that piece.
So, sorry. Okay, so you've got, this is your jar, but I'll use one that's already full. So let's say this is all of your like ingredients for your bitters and it's full of liquid that's been sitting there for 3 weeks. So you're going to strain all the liquid out into a separate jar, seal that, put it aside. So then you're taking this, and then I added 2 cups of water. So essentially the same amount of Everclear or whichever high proof spirit you initially use, added that and let that steep. So you're getting like, you're really using that to get the rest of the oils and the flavors out from the solids that were left over, because it's still there. Like, you know, like you can only, for this, I would use cheesecloth also, if you've got it, because the cheesecloth or a t-shirt, like an old t-shirt, you can use that as well. It's like the same method to really like strain out the solids when you're separating the liquid from them, because you're getting like that really good stuff that's retained in the, like, let's say pear or the ginger or the lemon, like you're getting all of the rest of that out of the juice.
Mm-hmm.
And so then at the end, you're mixing that water content with the stuff that you put in the other jar? Okay, that makes more sense.
Add it all together, let it sit for a couple of days, and that's it.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bottle it up and you're ready to go. Yeah. And those, like you said, kind of last indefinitely. That's just use it till it's gone. So
yeah, I would say, after a year, check it, see where things are at. But yeah, they last for a while, especially because like you're using a high proof spirit. And once again, as long as everything you're using is sterile, you should be fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What other questions about bitters or Manhattan cheese, man? Yeah, we'll just open it up to anything. Now you can ask any bartender questions you've got. Again, I think that's going to be one of the neat aspects of this as we do more and more home bartending, which looks like it's going to be the norm again for at least for the short term. Hopefully we'll get back to where we don't have to worry about these things. But for right now, this is kind of the world that we live in. So it's good to pick up on these things. So if you have any questions about bartending in general, great opportunity to ask Courtney right now.
Courtney, this is Chris.
Hi, Chris.
One of my weaknesses is garnishes. Because I'll throw a cocktail in a glass and then I'll just drink it. And then I'm like, oh, I should have done this. I should have done this. How do you come up with the garnishes? And I don't know, what role do they really play in the end cocktail other than just they look good. So.
I'm glad that you asked. One of my bar manager's biggest thing is when we're presenting cocktails is the garnish. It needs to satisfy 2 of 3 things for him. So does it look good? Does it taste good? Does it, add a flavor? And what's the smell like? So also, does it get in your way? Like, you want to make it pretty, sure, but does it add to the cocktail in any way? That's probably the biggest thing. Whenever I'm conceptualizing a cocktail, I think garnish is probably the last thing that I even consider or think about. And I'm with you, when I'm at home, I don't really do a garnish. I just, but it's different then. I mean, I'm making drinks at home to drink and have a little buzz, but if I'm trying to make a cocktail for people in a bar, I'm so what I focus on is, for instance, the old fashioned that I did, I threw a sprig of rosemary in it just to further help bring those notes out of the cordial.
Right.
So, but there's also, the Manhattan take that I just did, I did a lime peel on, which you wouldn't inherently think I should go with a lime peel on this, classically a highball has a lemon peel and those work really well together as well. But it's more of what am I trying to satisfy for my palate and what I enjoy, especially if you're at home making it for yourself. I love lime. I think it's delicious. And I just wanted to try it lime instead of lemon. And I think it worked out really well. So
that leads to my next question. So fresh lemon juice, fresh lime juice, or what about the bottled juices you can get from the grocery store?
If they're cold pressed juices, I think they're fine. But honestly, there is nothing like using fresh, just juiced lemon, lime, especially lime, because that honestly goes so quickly. The shelf life on that really isn't that long. I'm talking a minute is for the best if you're using it in a cocktail. So yeah, I mean, we use cold pressed juices here at the bar sometimes because we're blowing through stuff so quickly. But if you're at home, I always have fresh citrus at home, always, because I make cocktails and it's just next level, I think. Yeah, totally. You can use juice that you buy in a store and it'll be a great drink. But if, let's say a daiquiri, if you're just doing rum, lime, sugar, that fresh lime juice is really going to take you to another place. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What other questions? Yeah, Chris is a regular in the contest, so we'll see if she takes some of this. She's asked some questions. We'll see if she takes some of this, and yeah,
I'm excited.
She might go on a roll. Who knows? Because you can win more than once. So we'll see. Maybe she'll go win about 3 or 4 months in a row. That'd be great.
Courtney's getting to place a face to all the entries.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so my lovely bar manager Darren here is prompting me to explain ways that you can use what I. You are prompting me, suggesting that I talk about ways that you can use the ingredients that I talked about tonight outside of cocktails.
Okay.
cordials, like the first thing I'm thinking of is using that on ice cream. It's delicious. A little boozy aspect. So I would use that in like any sort of sweets, like pie, ice cream. Can't think of anything else off the top. Cake. I don't know. And like I said, shrubs, mocktails, meat to marinade your, like steaks in. That would be great. Yeah.
Chicken maybe.
Chicken. There you go.
Yeah.
Also, if you're really enthusiastic about cocktails, I don't know if y'all have sous vides, but they definitely help a lot in expediting all of the processes I talked about today. So if you do have one and you want to know a little bit more about how to, kind of make these things a little bit faster rather than leaving them out on the counter to sit for like weeks at a time, you can totally message me and I'll talk to y'all a little bit more about that individually. But I think having a sous vide is a really great thing to invest in. Now you can get one for less than $100, whereas before they were like crazy expensive. And you can use them for so much more than like cocktail ingredients. I know a lot of people that say the best steaks they've ever had have been made in a sous vide. So yeah, I would consider that as well.
Dave is definitely giving the thumbs up there. So
yeah.
do steaks all the time in the sous vide, and not that very true.
Yeah, they're great. It's a sous vide also is just a vacuum cooker in water.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool device. You just put it in, set the temperature you want to cook it at, and then it creates like a vacuum seal in what you've thrown in there. So
okay.
Yeah.
Sous vide wait, I'm sorry, like a mason jar?
You can so the sous vide, like, okay, let's say this is a sous vide and you've got a vessel, like a larger vessel. This is going to be full of water, and you put the sous vide in there and it circulates the water and creates like a vacuum seal of whatever, I don't know. This is your mason jar that you put in there. So it's basically like a rapid infusion, like pressure cooker situation with water.
If you picture taking a Ziploc bag, put your raw steak in a Ziploc bag, submerge it in water to get all, just with the thing just out of water, so all the air comes out, zip it. And then you could stick it in whatever pot of water with your steak in a Ziploc bag. Then that water needs to be at the temperature that you want your steak to be finished at, say 130. So if you keep your water at 130 for 2 hours with your steak in it, your steak's done at precisely 130 at the end of that 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's kind of in a nutshell.
It helps with consistency for cooking. And also if you do have like a dinner party or something, or a cocktail party, especially during the winter when you want to serve a warm drink, you can also put the cocktail in a jar already just to keep it warm in a certain temperature. So you can serve it at a temperature and just keeps it warm and nice. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
On shrubs, Courtney, could you use balsamic vinegars?
Yeah.
Or is that, would that work out well, or?
I mean, it depends on balsamic is pretty intense. So if you were to use balsamic, I would definitely use like some dark fruits with that. And if you're incorporating it into a cocktail specifically, I would kind of go a little bit on the lower route for like how much you're adding to the drink. But if you want to use that to like top off food, I think that would be dope. But if you're putting it in a cocktail, I would put a little bit less than I would any sort of other, like a champagne vinegar or just like a white vinegar as well.
Overkill for a shrub though.
I wouldn't say overkill. It just depends, they all have their places.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'd probably say like a white balsamic.
Yeah. Oh, I love you.
I love you too, Courtney.
So Courtney, you were kind of on the topic of other uses for the things that you created. So you obviously covered cordials, but some of the other ones, ideas for either the bitters, fat wash liquor, or anything like that, outside of making cocktails, of course.
Yes, some. I guess it really just depends on the flavor profiles that you have gone with. Sticking with these, like just putting them in a nice like summery soup would be good for like the shrub or bitters.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, talking with Barbara just in your baking always is what we discuss. What was the first one? Oh, and again, back to the peanut butter. Just make a sandwich with that.
Yeah.
It'll be really nice.
Yeah, there's no way I'm throwing that out.
Yeah.
I'm going to have me some old granddad peanut butter. Matter of fact, that might be better than the liquor itself. That sounds pretty fantastic.
I've done it. It's great.
Yeah.
The balsamic vinegar shrub though, that would be great on a salad.
Oh.
Obviously, they go really well together. So that's something to think about.
Yeah.
What about your simple syrups as a marinade for pork chop?
Yeah, do it. Pineapple, yum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I support that.
That sounds like it works for sure.
Yeah.
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 Other questions? All right. Well, Courtney is going to be doing this. Like I said, we've partnered up. We're going to do this regularly. So once a month. The next one is scheduled for Tuesday, August 18th, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. So you can sign up for that now. Courtney, I post these, but I know you have to work on them and all that. Any preview of what you might be covering in the next one, or have you not thought that far ahead yet?
Well, I really just wanted to ask everyone here if there's anything that they're interested in that I could help you with.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Potentially.
Can we do a series on tiki?
Yes, girl. I can
Tiki.
do that.
Awesome. I would love that. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's plan on that one for a tiki theme for next month, because I think of summertime. So let's get it while we still have plenty of warm weather left. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you? Yeah, I'm good. I was already thinking ahead. I'm going to join you on making some recipes when we get to November, because I'm big into eggnog, and I do a couple different eggnogs. I do some aged ones. I do some ones you could make if you just got a party going on that day. I famously stole the recipe from Bourbon's Bistro. I'm not going to share that. I won't share that because I literally stole it. So Jason and I were doing a live thing for him, and he always had this recipe, and he said he'd never share it. Well, Jason's really short, so I don't know how tall he is, like 5'6". I'm almost a foot taller than him, and he was writing down. He wasn't writing down. He was mixing the things up, and I just looked over his shoulder, and I was thought exactly how much of each ingredient he put in the thing. And my mind, sometimes I forget things, but my mind was working great that day. It was like a steel trap. I remembered everything. And as soon as I left, it ended. I told Jason I gotta go, and I ran out to the car and I wrote it all down.
Why Steve wears glasses.
Yeah. And then get this, Courtney. We had best eggnog in Missouri, a contest. I entered that Bourbon's Bistro recipe, and I won. I won best eggnog in Missouri with Bourbon's Bistro. But so I won't share that one, because I don't feel bad about taking it for personal use, but I'm not going to, or to win trophies, but I'm not going to share it. But I'll share some other recipes. If we want to, we get to November. We're way ahead there, though. We got a lot of time. So, yep. So the next one, be sure to sign up. So, I like the tiki theme. McNew, that was a great idea. We'll go with that on the one coming up on August 18th. So,
cool.
Cool stuff. What other things as she starts planning these and working them out? Any other suggestions?
Curious. I'd be curious. You got me going with the Toki and being more of a highball cocktail with a little bit of peat in there. More of the peated scotch, like a Lefroy 10 or something like that for the fall time or the winter. I find that it pairs pretty well with lemonade and a lemon and citrus setup, but with such a strong flavoring and earthy flavoring. Some interesting cocktails that comes with Lefroy, not just blended scotch, but a pure peated Islay scotch. If there's something that you guys have in there, would be interesting to see for the winter time.
Okay.
I can do that for sure.
That sounds like a good idea too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one for me is just coming up with flavor combinations. Sometimes I just don't know how to build things together and what should go together or might go together.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably, you know, one of the biggest struggles that we as bartenders go through, because I can sit and conceptualize a cocktail and think it's going to be great because, oh, like I theoretically know how things go together, but then when you make it, it doesn't work out. And then other times you're like, screw it, I'm just going to go crazy. I'm going to put this, this, and this together. And then, you know, you end up with something out of this world. So it's really about like enjoying the fact that you're here to play around and have fun and just see what you come up with. But like I said, the Flavor Bible book helps out quite a bit in just getting your like baseline pairings together.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for Courtney? All right. Well, I thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we will go with a tiki theme for our next one, which sounds really fun. I love everything about tiki culture. So, and yeah, this just feels like summertime when you got a rum drink in your hand. So I'm a bourbon guy, but I do like an occasional rum drink like that. So looking forward to that. And Courtney, thank you so much. Great job today. Excellent work.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Appreciate what you did. So good job. And for everyone else, thank you for being part of this. We'll see you guys next month.